But anyways, we're going to move on now over to the NFL. We're talking about the NFL draft-related news because Jalen Ramsey, the number 5 overall pick in the NFL draft, picked by the Jaguars, is now apparently has suffered a small meniscus tear in his knee.
Hates Jacksonville. He hates the Jaguars.
It's only a small meniscus tear.
This is the second year in a row that their first-round pick has gotten a knee injury.
Okay, but if you look at Ramsey, that he's still going to get a second opinion, and Ian Rappaport of NFL Network has said that if he's cleared, he can be ready by spring training. So not spring training, training camp.
But part of me is just saying, like, I heard that, and the first thing I thought, like, I went into like the mode that Jacksonville Jaguar fans are kind of going into. Why us? Why does this have to happen to us? Because the thing is, Jacksonville Jaguar fans, I'm kind of like coming around to your team. I've been coming. Let's be honest. Ricky's fucking on the bandwagon. Totally on the bandwagon when it comes to the Jaguars. I want you guys to turn the corner and be a good team. And then shit like this happens. I
do want to say the statement that Jacksonville put out on their Twitter. Jalen Ramsey sustained a small tear to the meniscus in his right knee during Phase 2 on-field workouts. Ramsey is obtaining a second opinion next week. More information will be available when head team physician Dr. Kevin Kaplan and the Jaguars athletic training staff determine the appropriate medical care.
Is that the one I retweeted? Because I know I retweeted something about it.
I don't know. But if you look at their font that they used, they did use the MVP Network font. So maybe we should take some legal action here. But it does suck. You're not wrong. You saw what happened last year to Donta Fowler Jr. Their second rounder.
He's gonna be a stud this year.
Their second rounder even is dealing with knee problems with Miles Jack, and now Jalen Ramsey is coming into this. Maybe. I'm just saying this. I'm throwing this out there. There's talk on whether he's going to be a safety, whether he's going to be a corner. This might hurt his lateral movement. So maybe this really gives the Jaguars a better chance of just putting him at safety and making him work out as a safety because he won't have to go one-on-one against wide receivers, and he'll be able to play more zone coverages. He won't have to go man-on-man with more guys. He'll be able to really roam the field instead of being tight and making tight movements following in man-to-man coverage. I think this might be more beneficial. I'm not saying it's beneficial when a guy gets injured, but it might be beneficial if he's still able to come back healthy. But maybe with his knee injury, they might be more wary of putting him at the cornerback position and put him in the safety place where he'd be more willing to roam instead of attacking one-on-one.
And this is why his versatility is such a big strength when we were talking about him in the just draft season, because if he was just a cornerback, okay, what are you going to do? Like you said, you're going to lose some lateral movement. Now, because he can play safety, he has that option to, hey, you know what? If I have to sit back and play safety, I can. And to me, safety was the spot where I was leaning towards Ramsey being a better fit for was the safety position. But that's why the versatility for Ramsey, this is why with this injury, that strength is just showing its colors and being like, yeah, this is a really good thing, is that I'm versatile.
Yeah, I look at Ramsey, it does suck for the Jaguars, but I think Ramsey will be able to bounce back just because, it's not even a big meniscus tear. People were saying that he might be able to be ready for training camp. I look at this, and I don't think this makes him a bust. I don't think this makes him, a bad decision taking him at 5. I think it was still a great pick at number 5.
I just look at it as bad luck for Jacksonville if he has to miss the season.
If he does miss the season, what effect does that truly have on the Jaguars, though? Because they did still have a phenomenal, a draft. They still had a phenomenal free agency. Do you think this really hurts their...
Are they going to be the team then where it's like, oh, we draft a guy and basically we don't get to... Whoever we draft in the first round for 2 years in a row, we don't get to see them until the next season. Well, are we going to be that team?
Well, we'll be that team if that happens, but I'm more saying, how will this affect them on the field? They did get the Malik Jackson acquisition. They did pick up Miles Jack, and if he's able to go, then that will be great. Donta Fowler Jr. is coming back. Do you think this will really hurt their defense? Do you think they'll be able to make another move? Do you think
they need Ramsey to turn? They need Ramsey or a guy as impactful as Ramsey on their defense to begin to turn that corner this season.
So you're saying...
And turn that corner into a team that's building into they're a good team.
So you're saying Ramsey's the key to the Jacksonville Jaguars' future, basically?
In the secondary. In
the secondary,
the defense is built on levels. And your defensive line can be great, but if all I have to do is just short passes to beat your secondary, I'm going to do that all day.
I would think it'd probably be more long passes because you got Miles Jack and Paul Posluszny, roaming in the middle of the field.
They can't cover the entire field, especially on quick. If I can just dink and dunk you with screens and slant passes, I'll go ahead and do that all day. Ramsey is the guy that, or it's like, hey, fuck it, I'm going to keep my tight end in to keep your edge rusher off me, and then I'm just going to loft it up to my receiver because your safety's not going to be able to do anything. I think Ramsey he's not like the if de facto key where it's like, oh, if he's not on the field, they're going to be an 0-16 team. I'm not saying that, but they need his impactful play on the field in order to begin to turn that corner. Like, I feel without Ramsey on the field, you're not going to see the Jaguars begin to turn that corner that I've been talking about.
I don't think they're completely screwed because they do have Cyprien playing safety back there, and he was pretty good last year. And then you look at Devon House. Devon House was a ball hawk on the outside. Those guys aren't fantastic, and there's a reason they're obviously picking a corner there.
But Mariota, Brock the Cock, and Andrew Luck. Without a guy like Ramsey roaming your secondary, they're going to torch you.
They made major improvements to their defensive line so they can get to Andrew Luck because there is no Colts offensive line, and you saw that last year as he got hurt.
Hey, they drafted Ryan Kelly, though.
One guy isn't going to change an offensive line, though.
I'm just saying, Colts fans are really happy about that, apparently.
He wasn't a bad pick. He was the best center in the NFL draft. They got a position need. It's not a bad pick. You look at Brock Osweiler, he does have a good arm, but, has he really proven anything in his time in the NFL? And then Mariota, again, kind of in the same boat as Andrew Luck. He is very mobile, but again, he didn't have the best offensive line protection.
They're another team that picked up offensive line help in the draft.
They might be able to attack the passer, and that might be well enough because if you look at the Broncos, obviously they had a pretty fucking good secondary last year with Chris Harris and Aqib Talib, but if you look at what they did in the playoff, or in the Super Bowl at least, they were attacking Cam Newton, they were attacking him consistently, and he didn't have time to throw. If he doesn't have time to throw, it doesn't matter at all. And I think Devon House and Cyprien can at least be decent in the secondary where you can at least stop some passes. I think the Jaguars aren't screwed if Jalen Ramsey goes out, and I think it might actually be a blessing in disguise because you might be able to use his versatility to put him in a different position that might fit his future better. I'm not saying it's good that he got injured, but I'm saying it might be a blessing depending on how he can bounce back.
Like I said, they're not going to be 0-16 with Ramsey off the field.
God, no.
However, it will impact them more than not if he's not on the field. That's how I see it.
Give me your Jaguars prediction without Ramsey. Record-wise.
Are we really doing that? Are we really doing records in May?
I'm not saying exactly down to a T, but do you think they can be a playoff team with him without him? Would they be a playoff team without him? Is that what I'm saying? Because the South is pretty bad.
Right now, off the top of my head, I want to say with Ramsey, they're a 9-win team. Without Ramsey, they're a 7-win team.
You think Jalen Ramsey basically wins above replacement is 2?
8 or 9. So 1 or 2 is his war.
I think that the Jaguars can compete in the AFC South mainly because, I look at the Colts and I don't really see them too much as a threat because I know Andrew Luck's fantastic, but can Andrew Luck stay on the field? He's had consistent injury problems. I look at the Houston Texans as the best team mainly because you have J.J. Watt, who's phenomenal. You have Brock Osweiler, who's hopefully going to be phenomenal for you. You have Lamar Miller, who's been great in Miami. You have DeAndre Hopkins, who's a force on the outside. I love what they did in the draft, getting Will Fuller and getting Braxton Miller. I think the Houston Texans are the team to beat, but if I look at the Jaguars, I look at that offense. Bortles is looking like he's coming into himself, and he can take down those.
Chris Ivory's too.
Yeah, if you look at Blake Bortles, if he can take down the interceptions, I think that's going to really boost boost the Jaguars' wins. If you look at their wide receivers, the Allens, they were fantastic. Robinson,
Allen to Allen, baby.
Yeah, they were fantastic, and then obviously T.J. Yeldon coming out of the backfield. They even picked up. And you even have the acquisition last year of Julius Thomas. I think this offense can be fantastic. And with this defense, with the addition of Malik Jackson, with possibly Miles Jack, and obviously Donta Fowler and Telvin Smith and Paul Posluszny, I think they can compete. I think they'll be around the second in the AFC South. I don't think they'll really compete for the wild card, but I wouldn't be shocked if they made the playoffs. I think Ramsey obviously adds a lot, but he still is a rookie cornerback, and how many rookie cornerbacks make this big of an impact to their defense? Looking at cornerbacks, they don't really have impacts right away. It's usually a silent, kind of contribution. I don't think it's going to
hurt them. I think it is, and maybe I'm hitting the panic button as an overreaction bandwagoner.
Yeah, a bandwagoner in Ricky Widmer. We'll see what the second opinion has to say for Jalen Ramsey, but that's going to wrap up for In Front of the Pen this week. I am Sean Anderson. Joining me was Ricky Widmer. Mike Rankin will hopefully...
Ricky who?
Ricky Widmer.
Oh, okay. It sounded like you said Midmer. I was confused.
Oh, my God. Hopefully, Mike Rankin will be back so I don't have to do this with Ricky again. And thank you for listening, everybody. If you do want to help support us, you can like this video if you're listening on YouTube. You can like this video or this podcast if you're listening on SoundCloud. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're listening to on YouTube. You can share this to your friends, whether you're listening on SoundCloud or YouTube. That would really be great. And if you are on either of those platforms, check out the links in the description. You can find us on Twitter at Most Valuable Pod. You can find us on Snapchat at Most Valuable Pod. You can find our Facebook page, but the most important one is our Patreon page. If you do want to check out our Patreon page, we would love that support. And if you do become a patron, you will get a secret podcast that comes out. A new one is coming out monthly. And that one's where we kind of just shoot the shit and talk for an hour. So that one is a fun one that we do. So if you are interested in that, please check out our Patreon page. That is really going to wrap this up for In Front of the Pen. I am Sean Anderson. I am on Twitter at Schwarbo. Ricky is on Twitter at Ricky Widmer. And that's going to wrap it up. And we will see you not next week because Mike will be back.
Thank you for listening to this MVP podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Most Valuable Pod for more great podcasts.